This is The Warning. Last night, Donald Trump made an address to a joint session of Congress, and the Republican MAGA cult members went crazy. Look at Lauren Boebert, girlfriend of Kid Rock, doing the reverse Beetlejuice here. She is excited, cannot contain herself. It is as if she is at a children's play. Last night was the longest, most boring presidential speech ever delivered, at least since they could be recorded and we could hear the voice on radio, on television. This was an autocratic speech in the sense that the autocrat held his people hostage and made them clap. You can watch the migration of J.D. Vance's facial expressions. The guy is out of shape. Now, when he was skiing, he made a couple of turns, fell down, got up, out of breath. Same thing in back of Trump last night. He sneers for a while. His lips are pursed. He maniacally grins, up and down, up and down, up and down. Same with Mike Johnson, whose head is nodding. He's in the rhythm, but by the end, they're tired. They're worn down. Only the MAGA House members have the true love of MAGA to keep the enthusiasm going, full pitch all the way through. Now, John Kennedy, he talked about paying any price and bearing any burden. Citizenship in the United States is an ephemeral idea. In this country, if after a long process you choose to swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution, you become in an instant as equal in your citizenship as any person, even a direct descendant of the Mayflower. But now Trump, well, let's watch.
With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated.
He's going to sell your birthright on a gold card to his rich hustler friends in China and Russia and make them Americans. Terrible things happen to people in life. Savage things. Hurricanes, tornadoes, car crashes, abuse of children, the spouses in this country that beggar the imagination. There is murder and rape, terrible crimes. Last night, Donald Trump used the existence of suffering, of terror. He took people who have endured unimaginable loss and he turned them into props and exploited their grief in the name of expanding his power. He did it over and over again. I'm not hard-hearted. The scene with the little boy touched my heart. But this is a national address in a time of global crisis precipitated by Donald Trump. And what Donald Trump did last night was deliver bread and circuses to his MAGA masses. Donald Trump portrayed himself as a compassionate man. But understand this, in your name, as you watch this, there is a child in Africa who is beginning to starve because the U.S. food aid is rotting on a shelf. It does not need to be rotting on a shelf. We have demanded that it rots on the shelf to make America great again. And so the child will starve. Their body will feed on itself. The pain is unimaginable. The thirst, unquenchable. And this happened and is happening and will happen because Donald Trump said do it and Marco Rubio signed his signature. And then Donald Trump portrays himself as a compassionate man. It's a sick lie. The 45 days of the Trump administration that the American people were told has been a success is not a success. It is a failure. There is chaos in the world. Yesterday, J.D. Vance referred to the British Army and Great Britain as some random country that hasn't been in a war in 30 years.
If you want real security guarantees, if you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
J.D. Vance had no compassion for the dignity and for the loss of 669 British soldiers who died when the United States was attacked. Donald Trump attacked Canada yesterday. He is waging economic war against America's closest ally, with whom we share the longest undefended border in world history. He does not have compassion for the millions of Americans and Canadians who are in the same families, who work in the same businesses, who share not just a border, but history, values, ideals, sacrifice, all of it unnecessary. Donald Trump last night did not talk very much about what he has been doing, what we all saw, which is switching sides in a war that could kill us all. Donald Trump has discarded America's support and cut off military aid for Ukraine while embracing fundamentally the Russian position. Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia raped Ukraine's women. Russia kidnapped Ukraine's children. And now the United States supports the rapist, supports the killer, supports the kidnapper because Donald Trump says that's the right thing to do, because Donald Trump says that Vladimir Putin is a good guy now? No. Donald Trump yesterday said he's going to raise taxes. That's what tariffs are. They're taxes. He's raising taxes on every product every American uses day to day so he can lower prices.
Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh.
Does that make sense? Donald Trump said he's making America great again, but the price of eggs is going up. The price of gas is going up. Anybody out there trying to sell a house? How's that going? How did the stock market look yesterday? Look at these headlines from around the world. America alone, isolated. We will pay a heavy, heavy, heavy price. Of course, there was an utter lack of dignity in the chambers. Now, Donald Trump sent his mob to shit on the floor, to urinate on these chambers, which they did when he tried to overthrow the government. But there is no strategy. Let's watch Democratic member Al Green bringing the cane to the fight again. Last seen next to Chuck Schumer as he inspired the nation in the early days of the Trump administration with this Churchillian performance.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
And last night, the cane reappears. Donald Trump's utter lack of dignity leads him to attack Elizabeth Warren.
You want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
When you go through the speech, it's just all bombast, nonsense. Yet the MAGA Congress cheers and cheers and cheers and cheers, but they won't be cheering in November 26th because the American people by then will have had enough, seen enough, heard enough, and felt enough to sweep these fools from office. The corruption present in the room was disgraceful and despicable. The lowest moment, of course, when Donald Trump arrives with Elon Musk in the presidential limousine, the deputy president saluting from the balcony, attacking the Congress, impounding congressionally approved money, treating park rangers, firemen like insects. It is a low moment as we move through these dark days on the edge of the catastrophes that are rushing up towards us all now. There is good news for Democrats. In this 45 days of pathetic, absolute inability to talk, to fight, to do anything, the Democratic Senate approved overwhelmingly Marco Rubio, who is the first cabinet member to have mass death on his hands. The Senate Democrats are not fighting Democrats. They are appeasing Democrats until we finally saw a normal one last night who could speak, who could connect from Michigan, Elise Slotkin. More, please.
President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave.
The opposition will not come top down from Washington, D.C. It will come bottom up from the country, and its goal must be to sweep away what we witnessed last night in Washington, D.C. We live in a corrupt era in a decaying country, a great country being brought low by a vicious man who was elected because of the greatest failures in political history, in American history, and in the history of the two-party system that allowed this to happen. It is incredible. Last night, Donald Trump told the country, we are going to be great. We were great. But I'm afraid we're not anymore. What we are now is mean and crude and lost. If we want to be great again, then these immoral and corrupt people, they need to go. Vote it out. And then we can talk about the greatness of our ancestors and their achievements again. They were all built on a rock of freedom, values, ideals, liberty, not to serve a man. America is bigger than a man. And yet, yesterday, a man declared himself again the nation and said to cheering applause that he was saved by God to make us great as he consoled from a teleprompter the family of a dead man who was not saved, I suppose, either for his family or for America. I guess God didn't have a plan for national greatness that involved him. Awful, cheap, and tawdry. Does not begin to describe it. Trump sycophants like Marjorie Taylor Greene who wear their red fascist hat, Trump was right about everything. Trump was right about nothing. And you, ma'am, are an anti-Semitic jackass of indescribable dimension and disgustingness. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.